How to disassemble and then reassemble your lightsaber chassis from Savi's workshop at Galaxy's Edge. First, we just take out the battery here. It just twists out, and there is your battery pack. You can put that to the side. If you need to get at the batteries to replace them, there's a little Phillips head screw right there. Just undo that. This plastic part lifts out, and the battery's right there. This is a 2mm hex bit to get these screws undone. I suggest starting with the bottom first, which is the side that had the battery pack in it. Just a matter of undoing these 4 screws like so. One thing I will warn you as I take this apart is if you're having a problem with your lightsaber hilt, the first thing you should do is contact Disney Merchandise Guest Services. There's an email address, there's a phone number. It's on their website. I will try to remember to include it, but if not, in the description. But if not, you can find it. Contact them first, always, if you're having problems with any of your Disney merchandise, because they usually will be pretty good about taking care of you. Okay, so we're going to take this bottom part out. It should just slide out. There's a black piece. See the black core here that also runs up to where the battery goes into. Just push that way while you pull on just the gray piece. Pull the gray piece off like that. Now here is a ribbon cable. This ribbon cable is white for mine. It will not be white for yours. It will be an orange color. The reason is mine broke and I have replaced it. So I'm going to take these pliers, take these whatever these things are, and try and pull the slack that's tucked underneath there out. Can I do this? Yes, there we go. That ribbon cable is in there the wrong way. I have since... when I got this, this ribbon cable was already wrecked. Somebody else had tried to put it back and screwed that up. So I bought a new ribbon cable, and I see I've screwed it up. Since I've looked at an unopened hilt and seen how this is handled, and I've got this a little bit wrong. So I'm going to fix that while I'm here. So what you're going to see is now you can pull it down a little bit. You have a wire here, these 2 wires. This is your power connector. This brings the power from the bottom to the top side. You can just unplug that. Now we need to disconnect the ribbon cable. The ribbon cable, I should probably zoom in for this, has a little connector here, specialty connector, and it's got this little black plastic shim that you need to pull out, and that will remove the tension on the ribbon cable, and you can just pull it out. So I'm pulling this out towards me. I'm using some tweezers here. You could use your fingers, but tweezers are probably going to be easier. And that should just come out like that. I'll just take a look real quick. We can see this connector here. You can see the little black plastic shim there. So when I'm reassembling it, I'm going to make sure that this little black plastic piece is pulled out this far. Stick the ribbon cable in and press it back in, and that'll lock the ribbon cable back in place. Okay, so that is the bottom half. Now let's look at the top half here again. 4 screws like so. The ribbon cable has some extra length to it to help, I assume, to give it a little slack for assembly, to make it a little easier to assemble. And when whoever used to own this took it apart, they didn't know where to tuck the slack. The slack should be tucked in down at the bottom end underneath this PCB here, in this little hole here. They had tried tucking it in at the top end here where there's no room. The cable got mangled. The traces, the wires in the cable broke, and it no longer worked. Okay. So again, same thing as the bottom. There's this little black inner tube piece. Sort of push down on that while you pull the gray sleeve off. And that gets that off. Now we have a little clear piece of plastic. We can't remove that yet. I'm going to pull this out. Now here's where things are going to get a little weird. When I pull this out, this cable, this ribbon cable and this power cable, they're connected up here. They're going to want to come with it. there's actually, if you look inside, this little piece of plastic that sort of holds or hides the area where the cable runs up the side to get to the top. You can actually pull that out and get the wires out from underneath it and put that to the side. That way now when you pull the middle part out where the kyber crystal goes, it will come out cleanly. Then you can pull this plastic piece off, sort of the window to the little blinking LEDs when you first put your kyber crystal in. You'll notice here it's notched. That will help you align this when you're putting it back together. Now, if you want to get the top off here, which can be a pain in the backside, there's a sleeve that goes all the way around here. This top part, you can see right in the middle here, there's a little crease. That's where the bottom of this little sleeve is, and that needs to be pulled out. I have lots of problems getting that out. One person has recommended jamming toothpicks. You can see that there's you can stick something down in there like that. See? Jamming toothpicks, a few toothpicks around, and that will sort of take this inner plastic and push it towards the middle, freeing up the sleeve to be slipped off. But I don't want to go that far. Do I want to go that far? I need toothpicks if I'm going to go that far. Toothpicks acquired. Okay, let's try this. Let's see. I've never actually tried this method before, so we shall see. I could be doing this completely wrong, too. And suddenly this looks like a very dangerous weapon with all these pointy sticks. Oh, hey, look at that. That actually did kind of work. All right. That was actually by far the easiest. I've taken this apart a few times. That was by far the easiest I've ever had of taking that little sleeve off. You can see part of the reason is it's got this double-sided tape that really I should just yoink. We'll find out later if I really needed that. Probably do. It could be a shim or something just to help tighten everything up. Okay. Then we have a big screw here. That should hold these two plastic halves together. If we just remove that, then we will be in like Flynn. Oh! Did you see what just happened there? I forgot about that. There's a big metal spring. It goes into the top here that holds this little thing that the crystal pushes up against. That just came... So be careful of that. I should have remembered that and I didn't. Alright. Now what do I want to do? I want to pull everything out. Alright, that is... that was out of focus the whole time. Brilliant. But that's the whole thing disassembled. So you can see here's the pins where the little springy pins, this is what the blade pushes into and makes a connection. The blade gets power from the battery, and you can see the data that tells it, you know, hey, do something, is coming through this white wire here that's coming from the ribbon cable. So that's why the ribbon cable is especially important. Okay, so what is next? I actually want to replace this cable, this ribbon cable, now that I know how to put it together. Focus. Oh, come on. There you go. So I need to go get one real quick. I order them on eBay. You can get them for a couple of bucks each, or usually get like a pack of 10 for like 10 bucks. They are 0.5 millimeter pitch, 8-pin, 150 millimeter long flat flex cables, and sometimes you'll see them talk about forward direction, or I don't think it's reverse direction. I think they call it something else. It just means that whether the ends of the cable have the pins facing in the same direction, or whether they flip over so like the connection is on this side of the cable but the connection at the other end is on the opposite side of the cable. That's what they mean by direction. For these, I believe you want forward direction, but I think either one will work. It's just a matter of how many twists and turns you're willing to put into your cable. Anyways, I'm going to go find a new one of these real quick. I'll be right back. Alright, so here is my bag full of these cables. Again, I bought a bunch because it was just, in the long run, cheaper to buy a bunch than buy one and then have to buy a couple more when I inevitably destroy the first one. So I'll just take one of these out. And each square here is 10 millimeters, so there should be 15 squares, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12? These are 120 millimeter? Maybe I meant to buy 120 millimeter. And I said 150. I was lying. I guess I was. Or just crazy, which I would understand why you would think that, because I'm essentially talking to myself right now. Yeah, so this is 120 millimeters, it looks like, not 150. Alright, 120 millimeters works too. I'm not too worried. Okay, so the way to think about these connectors here is that this little black, again, it's just like the other connector. There's this little piece of black plastic here, and it's sort of a wedge shape that you can't see that's inside here. And so as you push it in, it's pushing up on the ribbon cable. So that means that the connections that this thing is connecting are on the top side. The bottom side, it's being pushed from the bottom to the connectors on the top side of this connector. What I'm trying to say is that the correct orientation for this cable is like this. And we just close it up by pushing on those two tabs. There we go. There is our connection made. So now it's time to reassemble the top. So how did that go together? Was anyone taking notes? Because I wasn't. Alright, so here is the side where the cables come out. So it's going to go through there like that. The power cable also needs to go out that way, so I should zoom out a little bit, shouldn't I? But that's not zooming out. See, I should probably replace the power cable too, just because it's been kinked like crazy too from, again, being put in the wrong way. Okay, so that's... We have some notches here where I assume the PCB goes. The connector should probably go over the PCB like that. And into the notches, right? Maybe. Does that look right? Maybe. I can't tell. Am I doing this right or completely wrong? Doing it right, I just have this connector in the wrong way around. The connector, oh geez, this is the part that I forgot about. So, the connector that to the blade here has it's like a little washer and a spring here, and you got to sort of push that up and get it into this sort of half circle. So I'll push that up with my fingers and slip it in there like so. Right? Now there's also in here this little notch. You see that little thing sticking out there? That's going to go into this slot here to guide it. But we're going to run into a problem, and I'm going to not tell you what that is quite yet. There. Then we can put the PCB in, and we can pull the power cable out nicely. Yes, 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 yes. Something like that. That looks good-ish. Now, here's the problem. I don't know if it should go in this orientation or if I need to spin it 180 degrees. So what do? What we do is we grab a blade. And we, oops, I'm hitting buttons off to the side that shouldn't be hit. So this is going to go like that, because you can see the notch here is deeper for the bigger alignment than the smaller one. So there's the smaller notch, there's a deeper notch. So it's going to line up like that, and if we look, we can see the top of the camera view is where the single pin should go. I have, purely by coincidence, put that in the right way. You have a 50-50 shot. So always double check with your blade before you put everything back together, otherwise you're going to run into problems here. Other things, you'll have to just take this whole thing apart again. You see there's a little micro switch here. This is how the lightsaber knows when a kyber crystal's been inserted. It's this little piece of plastic here is going to be in here, and it's going to push up and close that switch. That is how it knows. Which means we need to put that back in, which means I need to figure out how this goes. For example, I have this spring here. Does this spring somehow come in contact with the PCB? Like, does it stick in there? No, I don't think so, because that would make connections that probably aren't supposed to be made. The other thing to look at real quick is the orientation of how this switch is going, this piece of plastic is going to fit. You can see that there's a notch in one side here, and there's a flat piece like right here. If we look straight at it, maybe you can see, there we go. That goes inside the notch of this little plastic piece. So we just line it up until it fits, see? And then you can see that there's this little arm. That is what's going to trigger the switch, or the trigger, push the switch. I don't know which one to say. That's how you can double check to make sure you've got the alignment right. Okay. So let's put this all together. Again, the spring should not be touching the PCB. It's going against the plastic, not the PCB. Very important. Line that up. And I think we're good. Now we've got a problem, though. Now I need to try and hold this in place while I bring the second half of the plastic in here. This is where things get a little tricky. Because with one hand, I'm holding this down, and I'm holding everything in place so I can bring in the second half and try to get this in without having it fly across the room. And I think in a different video I may have shown doing this that in a way that was actually smarter, like putting the halves somewhat together first, maybe? Maybe this is how I did it. You just sort of try different things until it works. Oh, there we go. I got lucky. There we go. It's pushing down. Got my cables coming out. Good. Now I need to find that big screw. Not one of these hex screws that you pulled out the sides. Nope, this is a Phillips head screw, so that should go in there. Good. All right, now, without those pieces of double-sided tape, will it fit? Now is the time that we find out. Again, you can see this plastic sleeve that's going over the top has a wide and a narrow. Here's the wide side, here's the narrow notch. Do you see how they're different sizes? Maybe. You'll see it in person. So this goes like that. Just push it down until it clicks into place. I can grab a blade real quick. Make sure that's going to insert. Oh, it doesn't have any problems. Good. Smooth action. Okay. Okay. What's next? What is next? We're going to take this little piece of clear plastic. And how does that go? Does that go... We have a notch that's going to go to here. Yes, but first we should just take a quick moment to look at how this ribbon cable is going to be routed. The power cable should come over it. The ribbon cable is going to sort of tuck down in here parallel like that, along with the power cable like so. It's going to be something like that. I'll bring this in. And it's important to have that oriented and ready to go, because once you bring this in, it might cover up where the cable goes. I guess not really. Alright, never mind what I say. Next up comes this piece. This is the crystal chamber. How does this go? We have one end that's got some notches in it, and another end that does not have notches in it. The end with the notches is going up against this. You can also see you've got these little cutouts here. That's for those little plastic windows. So just slide this up. And then you can also use the side that has that, where that plastic groove, where that, yeah, this piece here, where this groove is, where the plastic cover will go. Should go right about here where the cables are. So that's how you can orient how this should go. So something like that should do it. Yeah. Alright, and then the top part has windows on it for those plastic pieces. Now, what about the orientation? We can look inside here and we can see there is a little bit, there you go, right there. That little piece of plastic is sticking out, so that's going to orient how this goes in. Do we have a groove? Yes, here we have a groove where that piece of plastic is going to go. So it's going to be like that? No, wrong way. Again, where's that piece of plastic? Like that. Come on, there it is. There we go, and all the screw holes line up. So now put those screws back in. I don't think there's any specific order that these things need to be screwed in, but sort of like the lug nuts on a wheel, I just like to go opposites. Good. Alright, so that top half is still together. I'm going to double check again because I get paranoid. Yep, that feels good. Alright. Alright, so what's next? Next we need to put this piece of plastic in place. So I need to get these cables down through the middle. Through the middle there. Now, does anybody remember which side had that pointy part? That's right, it's the top side. It's going to go in like that. The cables are going to come in through this hole and go behind. That's another thing to sort of keep in mind. So, like that, through. Yes, yes, good. You can't see that. There we go, yes. Like that, that just slides right up. might have to pull on these to, as you push the piece of plastic in here, you might see it get caught and bunched up a little bit there, so you just keep pulling on these wires, gently pulling on these wires to free up anywhere it gets caught and bunched, and that looks pretty good. All right. We are in the home stretch. Okay. So the next thing I want to do is I want to put... Do I want to put the base on before I put all of the wires in? I think so. That way there's less strain on the wires. That way there's less chance here of me yanking on them. But am I going to be able to get in there? Again, take your time and just kind of see what your next step is before you actually do it. I think fitting everything in there with this thing screwed in is going to be fine. Oh, but I have to put that plastic on. Yeah, never mind that. Again, think about what you're going to do before you do it. Okay, so let's take a look here. We can see that the power cable connector is in there, and it is going to be underneath the data cable. I'm going to put that in first. I'm going to look at the cable connector here, and I'm going to see the connectors, the two holes there, are closer to one side than the other. And if I look at the connector as well, you can see the holes are closer, the pins are closer to one side than the other. That's one way to orient yourself. Another way is there's a little notch on there, and there's a little notch on the plug to sort of orient and line everything up. So to get in there, I am going to use some tweezers. Boy, that cable really wants to be in my way. No matter, I'm just gonna gently tape it back for now, just so it's not in my way while I try to get that power cable connected. I don't like these tweezers. I'll try these instead. Come on. This is easily going to be the most fiddly part. Oh. It's not in there yet. Now, here's the thing. You see, I'm pushing the connector up. The connector is only going to take so much of that before it snaps off, and I have to tear the bottom apart and replace this connector. So I'm trying to be somewhat gentle here, but it is a pain in the backside. This is also the part where you fast forward, because nobody wants to watch somebody struggle through hooking up a stupid tiny cable in their lightsaber. I certainly don't. Come on. Oh, success, it's in. So pushing from the top instead of from the sides, which I was trying before, that might redirect the direction of force a little bit, so that way it's pushing down and not pushing it up and moving that connector that's on the PCB away from the PCB. Or I could be talking on my back side. I say that a lot because it's a family-friendly channel in theory. Okay. So then, just like the top side, here's that little piece of plastic. I've just pulled it out so I can put the ribbon cable in there. Remember now, the ribbon cable connecting the shiny part where the pins are exposed is going to go opposite of that piece of plastic. So the pins, the exposed wires are going facing in that direction. That direction, okay. And see, now this is where I think a forward direction cable is wrong, because it would line up perfectly if it was the other way around. But it's not. I have to put a twist in it. Which is why I probably have the wrong cable, and probably the source of all my problems. I think that's in there. I could also probably put a twist at the other end and not have to deal with it down here, but I am so far along in reassembling this. Does that look? No, that looks terrible. That's at a completely awkward angle. Again, who wants to watch somebody fiddle around with a stupid cable? Come on. How does that look? Does that look straight to you? Meh, straight enough. We'll find out. Can we test? Could I put the battery in now? Yeah, I guess I can. All right, let's need a crystal. And I am going to hold it down here like this and push up here. And hopefully, we see red light. Red light? That's a white crystal. Yeah, I've been doing things to the crystal. And it's mad, so now it's red. All right, so it's good. All the connectors are good. It's just a matter now of tucking that cable away and screwing everything back in, and we're done. So, again, this cable, the extra slack, can just tuck right into that hole there. The power cable slack, that can tuck right in front of it. That doesn't have to go anywhere. I can just fit right in there. And what about orientation? There we go. There we go. Now, that is probably okay. I don't like it, but that's probably okay. Let's find out. Again, look inside the... yeah, see, I don't like how this is sticking up a little bit, but I believe that's okay. I think that's okay. It probably isn't. I know the stock way is to put the cable directly over the connector. See this cable I have, this 8-pin cable, or flat flex cable that I've just replaced. Its connectors are, I cannot grip a thing today, are a little bit long. Come on out. That should go down. And that over it, but it should probably go up because I'm going to be pushing the sleeve up, and I want it to be happy and not bend itself out of the way. So, like that. This is all a mess now. But don't worry. Again, where's that stupid notch or piece that sticks out? Where's the notch on the bottom? There it is. Where is it? There it is. Just there. Now, that wasn't factory. It's not, the cable management isn't as good as it could be, but you know what? If you never open this again, which you really don't have a reason to, who cares? As long as it makes a connection. And we'll try that crystal again real quick before I put all 4 screws in. Again, this is an angry crystal, so it's not going to blink white, it's going to blink red. Don't worry about that. That is expected. Yep. Angry crystal, still angry. Why is it angry? Well, I've been investigating RFID writers, and it turns out that there's one that I use and that I've shown on this channel a few times. And it works great for changing kyber crystal RFID tags, but there are others that look just like it, but are awful. They have buggy code, they don't do things the right way, and they can wind up locking your crystal to a single number. All right, there we go. We are back together. I guess the last thing really is to fully test it. So I'll put the anger crystal in like so. Where's that blade that I so carelessly threw away? There it is. Oh, that's a good sign. And now I need to turn it on, and I will turn it on not with the proper switch. Here, I'll use this. This is a magnet from an old hard drive. Yes, there we go. That looks pretty good. All right. That is how you can disassemble and reassemble your lightsaber hilt. Although I genuinely do not recommend that you do it if you don't have to, because it's a pain in the... you know.